Welcome to Security Architecture Podcast, where we help cybersecurity professionals to stay ahead of the curve and ensure they are successful in their cybersecurity journey.
Hi, I'm Evgeny.
Hi, I'm Dimitri.
We have here Michael from Netskope talk about integration between them and Mimecast. Michael, can you please tell us about yourself?
Hi guys, thanks for having me. I'm Michael Koyfman. I'm head of global solution architecture at Netskope. And today I would love to share with you how Netskope and Mimecast work together to help protect customers against various threats as well as data protection.
Michael, can you give us some insight into the driver behind this integration, why it happened, who asked for it? Was it a roadmap functionality or some customer requests?
Yeah, absolutely. It was kind of the synergy of both customer needs and what we saw as the need in the market. Let me share with you my presentation, and then you guys will be able to understand why we went down this direction with Mimecast. There are many vectors by which data and or malware are entering the endpoint. Netskope has built a security cloud that protects end users no matter where they are from the managed endpoints when they access cloud applications or any websites. By traversing Netskope Security Cloud, customers are able to ensure that there is very strong level of data protection as well as threat protection of all the data that moves between the protected endpoints and the cloud. Now, as we all know, threats come in through different entry points. Web and HTTP protocol is just one of them. But very often we have email as an attack vector where a weaponized Excel file or any PDF document may be sent to the cloud or may come in through different avenues. What happens is Netskope natively is able to detect and protect customers against various threats when they traverse the HTTP protocol and go to the cloud SaaS application for a particular website. So we have various number of anti-malware engines in our platform, 40 different threat feeds, and bare metal sandboxing to make sure that we stop threats before they escape or infiltrate the endpoint. We also do have AI and ML analysis of all the files that help detect zero-day threats. The really interesting part comes when we talk about importing IOCs from additional vendors. In this particular case, we're talking about Mimecast, which can provide us with a list of known malicious URLs and the file hashes that the other vendor has detected to augment and streamline malware detection by Netskope. The way we do it is by virtue of Cloud Threat Exchange. Cloud Threat Exchange is the Netskope middleware the customers can deploy, and it automatically feeds information from third parties like Mimecast and Netskope in bi-directional manner. So it pulls Netskope Security Cloud for all IOCs and malicious URLs, and it can feed them to Mimecast to make sure they know about the threats that Netskope has discovered. Conversely, it can also allow Mimecast to send Netskope the IOCs that it has discovered so that Netskope can block them in real time.
Michael, is this work for all the customers for Netskope or Mimecast, or it's for one particular customer that made the integration between Netskope and Mimecast?
That's a great question. It works for all customers that use Netskope, and they're also Mimecast customers. The connection here is between the customer's unique tenants. So customer's Netskope tenant is sharing data with customer's Mimecast tenant.
So if I have a file, it's not going to be shared with everyone else in the world, correct?
Correct. The file hash or the IOC or the malicious URL that has been detected by Mimecast will be shared with customer's own tenant.
I'm sure customers are concerned about privacy, not just IOCs, and it's an important part.
Yes, absolutely. So if we look at why is it important to work together with various security vendors, let's look at the typical kill chain. The user may get an email that tricks it into clicking on a malicious file. When they do that, it will take them to seemingly known application, Office 365, SharePoint. When they click there, there's a file there for them. That's a weaponized Excel file. If they open that Excel file, it may go and perform a dropper request to a Google Drive, which is also a known application that's not likely to be stopped by traditional secure web gateway. That can facilitate a malware download. The malware can go then to GitHub, which is yet another known destination to fetch its config. And then it can get its command and control via Slack and perform data exfiltration to another cloud destination such as Dropbox. As you can see, the attack surface and diversity is very, very broad here. It involves email, it involves 5 different cloud services here. And because they're well known and used every day, with some of them are used every day by customer, it's really hard to understand what traffic is good, what traffic is bad, and fight the bad guys. The benefit of the Netskope ecosystem is that by combining the intelligence on the endpoint, combining the intelligence on the email security, as well as the Netskope Security Cloud for all HTTP traffic, we're able to effectively share this intelligence between these key vendors such as Mimecast, or in case of endpoint such as CrowdStrike, and facilitate exchange of information that they collect as part of protecting the user's endpoints or data to help Netskope be the most effective policy enforcement for transferring data to the cloud.
Is there a plan to have more vendors to participate in this IOC exchange in the future?
Absolutely. It's an open ecosystem, and we have open APIs to help both ingest IOCs and URLs from our technology partners, as well as to share our data with them. So any security partner that's interested in working with us is able to build integration like this, and their customers can jointly take advantage of similar protections. The other aspect of integration between Netskope and Mimecast is data protection. So hopefully it's pretty clear what we've done on collaborating to protect against known threats, malware, etc. But also it's very important to protect against data leakage. Netskope has built an industry-leading cloud DLP engine that has over 40 different out-of-the-box regulatory compliance templates, customer regex patterns, over 3,000 different file definitions, file fingerprinting, as well as AI and ML classification to be able to detect and protect customer-sensitive data. So once again, that DLP engine is available to our customers, and they use it day to day to protect accidental or sometimes malicious data leakage into the cloud. But when email is involved, email is not using HTTP protocol. So the customers have a challenge of how do they go and protect their email transport with the same award-winning DLP engine that Netskope has. And so what happens is we've built the integration where the user may go and download a sensitive file from the cloud application, such as Office 365. And then they may choose to go and email that file to somebody who's outside of their organization, maybe their competitor, maybe the friend. But the bottom line is that file has sensitive information like credit card data, like personal data, customer data. And so when they do it, they leverage Mimecast as their security product to help get this email safely to the recipient. The way the integration works is Mimecast is sending all the outbound email to Netskope for inspection so that our DLP engine is able to scan all the content and attachments for compliance with all the DLP profiles that the customers are using to protect data movement, leveraging cloud and SaaS web traffic.
Can you explain the journey of such a email message that's been sent out of regular Office 365, how it's flowing towards the Netskope security cloud and what happens there, and how it's flowing then out the Mimecast?
Yes, absolutely. What happens here, let's look at the user at the bottom here. They're protected by Netskope. They are going to download customer-sensitive file from the sanctioned cloud storage, which is Office 365 OneDrive. And that's the area you see here. They're going to do that through Netskope Cloud. Netskope Cloud is going to say, you're downloading files from sanctioned destinations. That's all good. So now the user is in possession of the physical file on their endpoint. Let's say that they're looking for a way of exfiltrating the data. They know that their endpoint is protected by Netskope, so any traffic that's traversing HTTP protocol will be subject for DLP inspection. Or maybe they inadvertently trying to send this file to somebody via email that they shouldn't be doing that. So they're going to open up the mail client, and via the email client, they're going to say, hey, here's this file, here's an attachment. And the email client is going to take care of sending this message using SMTP protocol. So in case of Office 65, they're probably going to send it through Exchange, or an Exchange is going to send it to Mimecast, right? So what happens is that in this particular case, Mimecast is taking on the traffic. So they're sending it actually via Mimecast first to make sure that Mimecast takes the traffic, it spans it for threats, compliance, etc. And Mimecast is configured to forward this traffic via SMTP to Netskope for inspection. And Netskope inspects it and returns the content to Mimecast, marking it whether the content violates any of the policies. And then Mimecast makes a decision on whether to forward this email to the recipient or whether to return it to the owner with the notice that it violates the corporate policy.
So the decision of blocking of the email happening on Mimecast, not on Netskope.
Exactly. All Netskope is doing is expecting the data, right? And this figure here probably allows it to visualize a little better, right? So through the security cloud, all the web protocol, IaaS, web, SaaS, we're sending the traffic. Outbound email is going to Mimecast, and Mimecast is then sending it to Netskope for inspection. We mark it up to say, does it violate the DLP policies or doesn't violate the DLP policies? And if it does violate, then customers are free to build their own rules in Mimecast that say, all right, if Netskope says it violates this DLP policy, then I'm going to return this email to the end user, telling them that it's too sensitive to be sent out via email.
So I'm wondering, if I send an email, it went to Mimecast, is sent to you. Is there an SLA how fast you bring the email back? What happened if, can you quarantine or delay the email?
We don't do any quarantine. This is actually a great question, right? Mimecast is the email security company, and they do a lot of different things to allow customers to route emails, quarantine them, etc. The sweet spot of integration is putting Netskope in line to simply perform DLP analysis of the email message and then returning it back to Mimecast for further action, right? So first off, the inbound email is not typically scanned for DLP because at the end of the day, inbound email is email, right? Mimecast scans it for threats. If they detect a threat, they typically would let Netskope know, hey, there was a threat that was trying to come into your customer base or user base via email. So then we'll be able to effectively stop it if the user is somehow tricked to go to the website or an app and download the same payload via the HTTP protocol. But the outbound mail is the most relevant thing here because this is where data is leaving your enterprise, right? And once it's left, there's nothing you can do. Traditionally, CASBs have focused on inspecting email that has left the enterprise and analyzed it, scan it, detect DLP violations, and we have been able to do it for many, many, many years. But the breakthrough here is that you're actually able to stop leakage of sensitive information outside the enterprise and not know about it instead after the fact.
So Michael, if from any reason Netskope is down, or there's a delay, or there's an internet problem, how long Mimecast will wait before it send the message or reply back to the user? Because people sending emails, they want to reply. Right now I expect like 2-3 minutes and you get the email.
Yeah, it's a great question. I think it's up to the Mimecast admin on how to define those rules, because remember, these are all the routing rules that users define, and so they can define and say what's going to happen in case of a failure. Typically, with the hard and fast rule, if it says forwarded here to the next hop, it will continue to retry, and eventually it will get through. But essentially, the customer has full control on the Mimecast tenant to define what happens if it cannot be sent to Netskope, for example, for inspection. That said, Netscope Cloud has 5 nines availability SLA, and so the chances of any significant disruptions and the need for customers to allow emails to exit, their perimeter without having them inspected by Netscope is very, very, very low.
Michael, if we're talking about SMTP protocol, and it's not proprietary, would it work with other email solutions as well, in theory?
Yes, it would. It could work, for example, you can integrate Netscope solution natively with Office 365 or with G Suite or another email security product. The benefit here is coming together and giving customers a proven joint solution that they can clearly realize, hopefully, more than one value. And the key thing here is that it's not just the outbound email DLP integration that we facilitate here, but also facilitating threat intel exchange between the two security products to prevent malware infiltration into the enterprise, as well as security of data that's going outside of the organization.
Michael, the other question is about the onboarding process. How quick and easy is to onboard and enable the integration between Netscope and Mimecast?
It's a great question. We actually have a video about it on our website that walks through the onboarding process. It is very quick and easy. The configuration on Netscope side takes about 5 minutes, where you have to specify the domain for which we're willing to accept email for that particular tenant, as well as the next hop to return the traffic to, which is your Mimecast tenant. And then on the Mimecast side, it's just creating rules to send traffic that goes outside of the organization to Netscope first, and then configuring the pages and the actions, what to do when the traffic that we return back contains marking that should not allow that data to escape.
How is the business model works? Is it additional add-on feature, or any customer of Netscope and Mimecast have the ability to do it and likely should do it because it's very powerful functionality?
So the threat exchange functionality is free to our joint customers. The Cloud Threat Exchange that I mentioned earlier, that middleware, is available to all our customers, so they can deploy it and make sure that IOCs are exchanged bidirectionally between Netscope and Mimecast. The DLP integration, the email DLP functionality, is a license feature from Netscope that customers can purchase in addition to their CASB or NextGen Suite products that they buy from us. And once the customer buys the email DLP functionality, they can provide this integration with Mimecast to achieve the security and data compliance. Let me show you guys a quick demo of how it works.
It's actually a good idea.
I'm going to launch my Outlook here. As you guys know, Microsoft Outlook is using MAPI over HTTP, right? So typically, any web security solution is not able to inspect this traffic. So I'm going to try to send a new email. I'll try to send it to my personal Gmail address. I'll minimize this guy for now. And I have some sensitive file here, somewhere here. Oh, here we go, sample data. Now, if you guys want to know what's in here, birth dates, maiden name, first name, last name, credit card numbers, right? Personal data. So I'm going to say personal data for you. I'm trying to exfiltrate this from my organization. So I sent it off, and probably in about 30 seconds, once I check my email, I will get a response back.
Would you also see a log in Netscope indicating a problem?
Yes, absolutely. There will be a DLP incident generator in Netscope showing that we detected a violation with this file. So you'll be able to trace it down to that.
Is there an option to forward this incident to a SIEM?
Yeah, absolutely. SIEM is directly integrated with Netscope. You could also have Mimecast forward the payload to a particular destination for investigation. You can quarantine or hold it there, right, for investigation. That's where Mimecast really shines and gives you lots of different flexibility. So here you can see I got the message back, and this message came from Mimecast. And it says, hey, this message triggered the content policy, which is Mimecast's way of saying, hey, I'm inspecting this content, doing something, and performing an action. So it says, this user Netskope SE had sent email to Michael Koyfman1@gmail.com And here's the subject, here's when it was sent, and it was rejected. And here it says why it was rejected. It was rejected due to the policy Netscope DLP violation, because Netscope has inserted the block header in its headers once we inspected the message, found it to be sensitive, and sent it back. And Mimecast took action and blocked this message.
Straightforward.
Let me show you the true power of Netscope DLP engine. So if I am a malicious user that's trying to exfiltrate data, I'm going to say, okay, sure. I tried to upload this file and couldn't do it. So now I'm going to take a screenshot of this, right? I'm going to try to select this data. And I'm going to upload it and send it via email, right? So here's my...
Like as a picture, I guess?
Exactly, as a picture, yep. So I put it here, and I'm going to say, all right, hey, Michael, picture for you. I'm going to paste this file, right? This is going to go back to Netscope, and Netscope's DLP engine has very mature AI ML capabilities, as well as OCR capabilities. So we're going to run this through our engine. We're going to say, hey, we detected some information here that matches sensitive customer data due to the patterns, right? There's credit card numbers and whatnot. So it's going to hit the same DLP profile that I have configured to stop the data that were just returned to us when I sent the file. And so once again, in about 30 seconds, once it happens, we should get exactly the same message from Mimecast saying that, hey, you tried to send the message, but it was blocked.
It doesn't took long time. It took around 20-30 seconds. I think it's a reasonable time.
Here we go. Just got another one, right? It says picture for you was returned due to Netscope DLP, right? Let's take a look here. So the way this is done in Netscope is we can look at the policies first. And all the way at the bottom here, I have my outbound email policy. It says prevent sensitive attachment from being sent out. So it's very simple, saying, hey, if you send outbound email through Office 365, I can apply a bunch of different DLP profiles here. If I detect it, make sure you insert the header that indicates to Mimecast that they should block it. And that's the only policy that I have for my email protection. In terms of Netscope logging alerts, we can go here, look at our alerts, and we can see here there were 2 alerts triggered. And here's a DLP alert that was triggered for the outbound email. We can see the message ID, so you can correlate that with Mimecast information if we need to, who the user was, who they sent it to, what the image was, which DLP rule triggered it, which DLP profile it was. And here you can see this was a DLP image classification. So we classified that as an image. We're able to detect there was sensitive information in there, and we're able to block that.
Definitely includes all the forensics data you can dream of when something like this happens.
Yes, absolutely. And actually, if you go into the DLP incidents, it takes a little bit of time to generate this because we summarize the data. But if you look at some of the DLP incidents here, customers can store forensics data about the DLP incidents in their own cloud storage. So they can go here and look and see what data were actually in the payload that caused the violation. In this particular example here, you can see that somebody had uploaded a file that contained customer information, and we detected this because we wanted to remove external sharing of the data with customers. And we're able to display the violating information because we've taken that file from the DLP incident and stored it in customers' own forensics instance of Office 365, and they're able to display it for the incident response center here to investigate.
Michael, thank you very much. It was very educational. We learned a lot, and I think it's a very important integration you guys did.
Thanks for having me guys on. It was a pleasure.
Please remember to subscribe to our podcast and join us for our next episode.